Meet Elias, a humble man who's been through a lot. He sacrificed his education to support his sister, Stella, who's now a successful doctor. But at Stella's wedding, Elias faces a bitter insult from her new mother-in-law, Rita, who sees him as nothing more than a disgrace to the family. A high school dropout is a disgrace to the family, she sneers. Just as things seem at their worst, someone unexpected steps in, turning the tables in a way that no one saw coming. You won't believe how this wedding drama unfolds, and how Elias's true worth is revealed. Stay tuned to see who gets the last word in this family feud. Rita, what do you mean I'm at a solo table? When I asked Rita, my sister's mother-in-law, why I was seated alone at my sister's wedding, Rita's lips curved into a playful smile as she replied,
Oh, really? But isn't it fine? A high school dropout is a disgrace to the family.
as usual, Rita was belittling me. People around us were starting to pay attention, making me feel so uncomfortable that I had to look down.
Rita, what do you even know about Elias? And don't you even know who he really is?
But right after that, my sister Stella showed up and the tables turned. My name is Elias Brown. I'm 42 years old this year. After our parents died in a car accident when we were young, my sister Stella, who is a year older than me, and I were raised by our grandparents. Though we sometimes felt the absence of our parents, our grandparents showered us with so much love that we never felt lonely. However, since our grandparents were elderly, I decided to start working instead of finishing high school. Don't you want to finish high school? You don't have to sacrifice yourself.
That's right. At least finish high school.
Although my grandparents encouraged me to continue my education, I couldn't bring myself to do it after seeing how hard they worked to raise us. Thank you. But I don't have any particular dreams right now. I think working while figuring things out might be a good idea. I admired high school life, but at that time, my desire to repay my grandparents was stronger. Besides, I had reasons to enter society as soon as possible and gain various experiences. One of those reasons was my sister, Stella. Stella, though a year older, had always been like a peer to me since we were little. Part of my decision to start working after dropping out of school was to help fulfill Stella's dream. Stella had always dreamed of becoming a doctor and was diligently studying. Watching Stella, I wanted to use our parents' inheritance for her tuition and save as much as possible.
Are you holding back for my sake?
No, it's not that. I just don't have a dream like you do, Stella. My dream right now is to start working and help the family as soon as possible. Stella felt guilty about my decision not to go to high school, but she understood when I explained my true feelings. Stella then studied hard, got into college, and eventually started working as a doctor at the largest hospital group in our hometown. Our grandparents passed away around the time Stella got her medical license, and since then, we've been supporting each other.
Elias, I'm off this weekend. Want to go out to eat?
Oh, sounds good. I'm off too, so let's grab some drinks. Stella and I got along well, and we'd often go out for drinks when we had time off. Meanwhile, I was living by taking on various temporary jobs. Though my life seemed smooth, there was someone who had been troubling me. That person was Stella's mother-in-law, Rita. Recently, Stella got engaged, making Rita my relative. From what Stella had told me, I had the impression that Rita was a graceful and kind woman, and having longed for family gatherings after losing our parents, I was excited at the prospect of meeting relatives. However, that faint hope was shattered from our very first meeting.
Huh, Elias, unlike Stella, you don't look very presentable, do you? You're nothing like I imagined. It's disappointing. If people find out we're related, they'll laugh at us.
What do you mean by that? As soon as Stella left the table, Rita's demeanor changed completely. Stella's fiance, Matthew, sat beside her, staring at the floor.
You see, Stella graduated from medical school on time and is an active doctor on the front lines, even as a woman, and she carries herself with such dignity that I was very proud. But I never heard that her brother was such a failure.
Mom, Matthew tried to stop Rita's rant, but she shot him a sharp glare.
Oh, don't you agree, Matthew? Elias lives in a different world from us.
It seemed Matthew couldn't stand up to his mother. When I came to introduce myself for the wedding, Rita smiled in front of Stella. But as soon as Stella left for the restroom, her expression changed, and she began to belittle me. I was so taken aback by her sudden change that I couldn't even speak. Rita looked at me with disdain.
I've heard from Stella that you only graduated middle school. What kind of thought process leads to entering society right after middle school? I just can't understand it.
Yeah, well, I could only stelage a weak nod at Rita's drastic change in attitude. But Rita continued, looking down on me with contempt.
Listen, our family is not like any ordinary family. It's a nuisance to have someone like you as a relative.
Rita's husband was a doctor at the hospital where Stella worked, and Rita herself worked in medical administration. Of course, if Stella married Matthew, we would be relatives. However, my education shouldn't matter. But it seemed that Rita didn't think so, and she kept throwing unreasonable demands at me one after another.
If people find out we're related to someone like you, a high school dropout, I'll be ridiculed. So can you cut ties with Stella? That's the condition for approving the marriage.
I never expected to be insulted this much when coming to introduce myself for the wedding. Stella had told me beforehand that she was looking forward to meeting me, which made this even more surprising. How did it turn out this way? I felt embarrassed for hoping for a good relationship with my new relatives. Maybe Rita couldn't say she disliked me in front of Stella. But hearing such harsh words still made me feel awful. Stella is my only blood relative. I can't just cut ties with her so easily. Just as I said this to Rita, Stella returned, ending the conversation. But Rita kept glaring at me with a look of fury. Even after that, she kept making snide remarks when Stella wasn't around. Since we didn't live together and rarely saw each other, I endured it. As long as I didn't visit, we wouldn't have to interact. Thinking that way, I didn't object to their marriage. However, Rita started visiting my house occasionally, urging me to cut ties with Stella. I wanted to maintain a good relationship with my only family, Stella. Ideally, I wanted to get along with Rita too, but it seemed Rita couldn't accept me.
Why should I have to associate with someone as uneducated as you? I really dislike people who avoid studying and take the easy way out, like high school dropouts.
When my character was denied just because of my education, I couldn't help but get angry. One day, Stella told me that the date for the wedding had been set. Honestly, I didn't want to see Rita, but as a family member, I couldn't miss Stella's big day. With a heavy heart, I prepared for the day, and finally, it arrived. The wedding, attended by people from the hospital, was quite a large event, and Stella, the bride, had gone to the venue early for preparations. I decided to arrive early, ahead of the reception time Stella had given me. When I got to the venue, I saw Rita near the reception, greeting someone who seemed to be a high-ranking hospital official. The person was the director of the hospital where Stella worked, and there were many people gathered around. As I headed to the reception, the staff there spoke to me apologetically.
I'm very sorry. You're seated alone.
Looking at the seating chart, I saw that I was inexplicably placed at a single seat in the very back. What? Why? I'd never heard of a solo seat at a reception. Stella had told me I'd be seated with her friends since I was the only relative on her side. While I was talking with the reception staff, Rita approached me. Dressed in a formal dress, she looked more intimidating than usual, making me step back involuntarily.
Elias, you're looking quite shabby as usual. Couldn't you even prepare proper clothes for a wedding?
She looked me over from head to toe, her gaze the same as when she first met me. Rita, what do you mean I'm at a solo table? Did you hear anything about this? When I asked, Rita's lips curved into a playful smile as she replied.
Oh, really? But isn't it fine? A high school dropout is a disgrace to the family.
People around us started paying attention to what was going on, making me feel so uncomfortable that I had to look down.
You wouldn't want to ruin your sister's big day, would you? Just having someone like you here is unpleasant. So, could you leave right now?
but I've been looking forward to this day. Please let me celebrate my sister, whom I cherish.
You're annoying. I said leave now. We never invited someone as dull as you. There's no place for a shabby high school dropout at this venue. A poor person with low education shouldn't be here.
Rita kept insulting me without care, and I bit my lip to endure it as she got more and more heated.
Well, if you insist, just sit alone in the corner.
No one stopped Rita as she laughed loudly. I was filled with the urge to escape from there without being able to argue back.
In the first place, I've never thought of you as family. It's shameless for you to attend the wedding. There shouldn't be a place for you here.
Stella considered me a precious family member. That's why I tried my best to cherish the people who would become her family. But this treatment was too much. A family that looked down on me just because of my education was not a family I wanted. I quietly vowed to cut ties with Rita.
Elias. You arrived early.
Stella approached me, unaware of my resolution. But before I could reply, Rita interrupted and spoke to Stella.
Stella, let's leave this useless brother of yours and enjoy ourselves. So, why don't you tell your brother to go home already?
Rita, what do you mean by that?
There's no need to pity and deal with someone so uneducated. You're part of the upper class, unlike him. It's time to wake up.
Rita's refusal to acknowledge me, along with her contemptuous attitude, left me speechless.
Stop bad-mouthing Elias. I became a doctor thanks to him.
What? I'm saying this for your sake, Stella.
Rita, what do you even know about Elias? And don't you even know who he really is?
What are you all doing? Get back to preparations. This is a celebration. Stop this commotion. Rita's husband, Kent, came over, scolding Rita and the others for the disturbance.
But this man.
Rita desperately tried to blame me, insisting to Kent that I was the problem. Then, Philip Jones, the hospital director who had been surrounded by many people earlier, approached me. Elias, thank you for your help the other day. Philip handed me a glass and poured me a welcome drink. I thanked him and poured a drink into his glass as well. Rita couldn't stay silent, witnessing this scene.
Why are you serving Director Jones? You're not someone who should even be talking to him.
Rita stared at us, her eyes wide in disbelief. Ignoring Rita's reaction, Philip continued speaking to me. How have you been? I'm doing well, thank you. But what's going on here? It looks like there's some trouble. Philip glanced towards Rita, who quickly rushed over to him.
Oh, we were just having a family chat. Director Jones, how do you know Elias?
Elias saved my life. He helped me a lot back then. Rita and the others gasped in surprise at Philip's words. It's an exaggeration to say he saved my life, but I once helped Philip when he collapsed on the roadside. All I did was call an ambulance and stay with him, since he was unresponsive when I tried to talk to him. Since then, Philip has called me his lifesaver, and he had a proposal for me. Everyone else just passed by, but you took action and called an ambulance. It's rare to find such a proactive young person. Having someone like you gives me hope for America's future. Oh, come on. I just couldn't leave you there. Still, I want to thank you somehow. I only did what anyone would do. Being praised so much made me feel a bit embarrassed. But Philip continued without minding my discomfort. I know. I run a hospital, and I'd love for you to work there. What do you think? At that time, my contract job was nearing its end. I was struggling to find a new position. Philip's offer came as a lifeline, opening up new possibilities for me. Really, even someone like me? Absolutely. I want someone as compassionate and proactive as you on my team. Thank you so much. After joining the headquarters, I faced many unfamiliar tasks, and there was a lot to learn, but I found the work fulfilling. I had always felt inferior due to my middle school education, so I had independently obtained various qualifications like medical administration and secretary certifications. This effort paid off, and I was hired at Philip's headquarters, where I was able to contribute as a medical secretary. Philip always looked out for me, and I worked hard to meet his expectations. Meeting Philip changed my life. He was truly my benefactor.
Thank you so much for supporting my brother back then.
Stella thanked deeply to Philip. I was surprised to find out my lifesaver's sister was a doctor at one of our affiliated hospitals. When I learned about it, I was amazed. Kent had known the background from meeting in several meetings, but Rita, who had always looked down on me, was unaware. Hearing about my connection with Philip, she was astonished.
No way. A high school dropout couldn't possibly become a medical secretary at headquarters.
Hearing that I was working at the headquarters shocked Rita and the others.
I get it. This man must be deceiving everyone. He probably just pretends to speak Chinese to show off.
The headquarters only has the elite from each affiliated hospital. It's a place where the top people in the group hospitals gather. Rita couldn't believe that someone she considered a high school dropout like me could be in such a place. Until then, she had never openly insulted me in front of Stella, but that day she didn't seem to care. Even in front of Stella and Philip, she repeatedly insulted me. Philip was the first to respond to her words. "Oh, so you're saying that I am lying?"
Well,
Rita was visibly flustered by Philip's pointed question. I do not judge people based on their educational background. In fact, Elias has demonstrated his abilities quite well at the hospital. Philip's words made me feel warm inside. I had always been somewhat self-conscious about my education. Philip noticed this and looked beyond it to see my true potential, for which I am deeply grateful.
nonsense. This man must have done something dishonest. I'm much more capable at work than he is.
Is that so? Let me tell you, your reputation at the hospital isn't very good. Many medical administrative staff have quit because of you, right?
That's not my fault. It's because those staff members lacked resilience. Surely you and the director have been deceived by this man. He's a master at flattering people. He's truly a despicable man.
Despite Rita's continued commotion, Philip spoke coldly. So, is the misappropriation of funds at the hospital you work at also a mistake? Philip's stern voice cut through the noise. A large amount of entertainment and hospitality expenses. You claimed they were legitimate, but what's the truth? Philip's decisive words left Rita and her group speechless and visibly shaken. I had heard rumors at the headquarters that the hospital where Stella and Rita's family worked had frequent issues with misappropriated funds and discrepancies in the accounts. However, without concrete evidence, the headquarters had been at a loss. Stella had mentioned it before, saying an investigation was underway, but the truth remained unclear. I never imagined Rita and her family were involved.
Well,
Or is it under your direction, Kent? Kent shook his head sternly.
darling, it's just that we had an increase in supply usage recently, so the expenses went up a bit.
Rita looked desperately at her husband. Without looking at her, Kent declared clearly, "No, I gave no such instructions. I will conduct a thorough investigation myself." Kent's stern words shifted the celebratory mood of the wedding. Rita, now on the verge of tears, clung to Kent.
Honey,
What? If there's nothing shady going on, you shouldn't be worried about an investigation, right?
please, I'm really sorry. Can you forgive me just this once? Hey, Matthew, help me, please.
Mom, I've always listened to you, but from now on, I want to become a great doctor on my own terms. So, please atone for your sins. Realizing her son was admonishing her, Rita begged for forgiveness. Philip, who had been watching her coldly, spoke again. I am disappointed in you. I consider my patients and staff to be like family. Someone who can't cherish those around them has no place in my hospital. Though calm, Philip's words carried the weight of a director who built the hospital from the ground up. Rita recoiled at his decisive words. Then she turned to me, pleading.
Elias, please tell the director and Stella how much I've contributed to the hospital. You must feel obligated to help your sister Spiance's family when they're in trouble, right?
Rita's attitude of emphasizing family only when it suited her made my feelings for her grow even colder. I had tolerated her because she was my sister's family, but seeing her try to use my sister for her own gain pushed me to my limit. I've never felt like family to you. You've always looked down on me as a high school dropout. While belittling me, you didn't even do your own job properly. What does that say about your character?
Well, that's...
Do you think you're so great that you can look down on others? I finally voiced my true feelings. I have no intention of associating with someone who can only find their worth by belittling others. From now on, I don't care about you. Do as you please. As I said this, Stella nodded in agreement behind me. It was clear she had no intention of defending Rita. Knowing my sister hadn't been swayed gave me a sense of relief.
No way. What will happen to me?
I have no idea. Someone like me, who you consider beneath you, has nothing to do with the likes of your upper-class circles. As I spoke sharply, Rita crumpled to the ground. After Rita's misconduct was revealed, the wedding continued without her. After the wedding, thanks to Philip's decisive order, Rita was fired from her job. During the divorce proceedings, it was discovered that Rita had been having an affair with a male nurse. Afraid of the repercussions of Rita's downfall, the male nurse confessed everything to Kent, exposing Rita's infidelity. This revelation sealed the fate of Kent and Rita's divorce. Rita was ordered to pay compensation and found herself in dire straits. The reason for her dismissal was, of course, the misappropriation of funds. She had been claiming her lunch and entertainment expenses as business expenses. With the public exposure of her actions, Rita's selfish behavior at the hospital came to an end. With no income, Rita now lives alone in a small apartment, working part-time to make ends meet. Upon learning everything, Stella apologized to me and promised to cut ties with Rita. Even now, Philip and I often enjoy casual conversations during work breaks. Hello, Philip. Ah, Elias. Working hard as always, remembering to cherish my family, my colleagues, and those who support me. I continue to work diligently every day.